You know, our planet is absolutely teeming with life, right? From a single little bacterium all the way up to a sprawling forest. But have you ever really stopped to think about how it's all organized? It turns out there's this beautiful, kind of hidden structure to it all. So let's dive in and see how it all fits together.
So how in the world do scientists make sense of this massive, tangled web of existence? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple, and it's a concept you're probably already familiar with from childhood.
That's right, Russian nesting dolls. It's the perfect way to think about it. Each level of life fits neatly inside the next, building up from the tiniest individual all the way to the entire planet. We're going to keep coming back to this idea.
To really get this, we're going to go on a little journey together, kind of like a cosmic zoom out. We'll start super small with just one living thing, and then we'll keep zooming out through populations, communities, all the way to the biggest doll of all, the entire biosphere.
All right, let's get started. First things first, we need to understand the blueprint, the grand design of life itself. We're going to build this entire picture level by level, starting right at the very foundation.
And here they are, the 6 basic levels of ecology. Think of this as our cast of nesting dolls, all lined up and ready to go. Each step we take is like opening one doll to find the next one inside. So let's start with the very smallest doll, the individual.
Okay, so our journey begins at a scale we all get. I mean, before you can understand a forest, you got to understand a single tree, right? We're starting with just one living thing. That's the foundation for everything else.
This is our first and smallest nesting doll, the individual organism. This could be one deer, one oak tree, or even one single-celled bacterium. It's any living thing that can function on its own. Simple enough, right?
Okay, now let's pop open that first doll. What happens when you get a whole bunch of those individual deer together? You get a population. Now the key phrase here is same species. They're all the same kind of animal, sharing the same space. So one deer is an individual, a whole herd of deer is a population.
And of course, a population size is always changing. It's this constant balancing act, you know? The numbers go up with births and when new members arrive, and they go down with deaths and when members leave. This whole process is kept in check by living things, like predators, and non-living things, like how much water is available.
Okay, so we've got our population, our herd of deer. But they don't live in a bubble, right? It's time to zoom out again and see who their neighbors are in this big ecological neighborhood.
And that brings us to a community. See, it's not just the deer population anymore. Now it's the deer, plus the population of trees they nibble on, the birds in those trees, the wolves that might hunt them, the insects in the soil. It's a whole web of different species, all living and interacting in the same area.
And what's so cool is how these communities are structured. All these species depend on each other for stuff like food, shelter, even pollination. We usually just name them after whatever the main plant is, like a grassland community. And they can be huge, like an entire forest, or incredibly small, like the tiny world of organisms living on a single log.
So far, we've only been talking about the living parts of the puzzle, what scientists call the biotic stuff. But what happens when we start adding the non-living or abiotic world into the mix? Well, that's when this web of connections gets really, really interesting.
This slide really nails the difference. A community is just a living cast of characters, okay? An ecosystem, that's the whole show. It's the living community plus all the physical stuff. The sunlight, the water, the soil, the climate. It's the actors and the stage they're on.
You can really think of ecosystems as the fundamental engines that make our planet run. And just like communities, they can be all sorts of sizes. But what's truly amazing is their ability to self-regulate, to keep everything in balance. It's like a natural thermostat that's always working to keep things stable.
All right, time to open the next nesting doll. We're taking another huge leap in scale here, moving from local ecosystems to massive regions that can span entire continents.
And this level is the biome. A biome is basically a giant collection of similar ecosystems all bundled together. And what's the glue that holds them together? It all comes down to climate, which dictates what kinds of plants and animals can live there.
And this table gives us some perfect examples. Think about a desert biome. Whether it's in Africa or Arizona, it's defined by one main thing: not much rain. A forest, well, it's all about the trees. The tundra, it's all about that extreme cold. A biome is a giant, recognizable climate zone filled with life that's perfectly suited for it.
We're almost there.
We've reached the very last and largest nesting doll, the one that holds all the others inside it. It's time for the final zoom out.
And here it is, the biosphere. This is the big one. It's the grand total of every biome, every ecosystem, every community, every population, and every single individual organism. It is, quite literally, all life on Earth, all rolled into one.
The biosphere is this incredibly thin, almost fragile layer where the air, the water, and the land all come together to make life possible. It goes from the deepest parts of the ocean all the way up into the atmosphere. This is our shared home.
And there we have it. We've come full circle. That single organism is nested inside a population, which is nested inside a community, which is inside an ecosystem, part of a larger biome, all contained within the one and only biosphere. The nesting dolls are all back together.
So here's the really big takeaway. If every single level is so tightly connected, nested inside the next, what does it actually mean for the whole system when just one piece, one population, or one little part of an ecosystem is damaged or removed completely? That's the question we all have to think about.